Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another Options to Play video update. We are getting into the back half of August, and we are mostly through earnings season. But what you'll notice this week, following week, is that there are even though on the calendar there's not a ton of names every single day, it does seem that there are at least a handful of interesting names every single day. So the number of names reporting is lower, but still plenty of bigger companies and some interesting setups too. So things kind of get going on Monday morning, actually, before they open with JD. It they're looking for about 5 points on this one, and it's a real big week for China e-commerce stocks. JD, Baba, and PDD all report next week. Um, JD had a strong quarter in May, formed a higher base above 60. I guess the biggest question for me is whether or not they pay reports in this group just in general. So far, there's been a lot of mixed, muted reactions in China tech names. And I do think that this is a pretty solid setup. I mean, a nice higher flag above 60, not too extended. I'd definitely be more bullish here, but I'm kind of on the fence regarding options. After the close on Monday, Fabrinet, so about 6.5 points is what's expected on this. Not a name I trade very often, um, and I guess the only reason I'm really even talking about it because it's like the only name that really seems like it could move Monday after the close. It's had a pretty big run, and option pricing is not too cheap, but it could be one that acts well post earnings. Maybe as like a swing trade opportunity, it might be something to take a look at because it tends to go on these like really extended nice runs, which seem to bode well for like swing trades. For the open on Tuesday, big retail morning. So Home Depot is pricing about 10.75 or so, and just about everything housing related seems to be killing it right now. And Home Depot is such a consistent performer quarter after quarter after quarter. The stock not had like a real big pullback in a while. I mean, the last time was June when the overall market pulled back. And the other thing too with Home Depot is that it doesn't have a great history of being rewarded on earnings. So it's definitely a tougher setup overall on this. It may be an avoid for me, or maybe something to look at for like a swing trade post earnings once the option pricing comes down. Walmart. About 6 points is what's expected on this, and um, the overall expectations seem to be pretty high for Walmart this quarter. Um, I, I do think the stock is at a decent area, decent pattern, decent setup, right? Just kind of flagging underneath the previous high. And it's not too extended, which is also kind of encouraging. The issue is that it's sold off. This was the move last quarter. It's sold off after the May earnings, and I guess the combination of higher expectations, not a particularly great reaction to earnings last quarter, option pricing is a little bit higher or a little bit more elevated too. So I think you need to be directional here. I'd probably lean bullish, but I think anything I do with Walmart would require getting the overall risk down. SE. So about 15.5 points is what's priced in on this. Powerhouse, e-commerce, gaming, electronic payments name in Southeast Asia. Stock has just been incredible, and it's rolled off the recent high. Um, to me, this is one where it wouldn't surprise me if it made a move ahead of earnings, just because I mean everything in this group in this space has really crushed it. And last quarter they crushed it, so I figure people might position for like a positive number ahead of time. So I think any trade into the actual report will depend on how much of a move it has right before earnings. Definitely a name I'm watching, but what I do with it is going to be dependent upon how much it moves Monday. All right. After the bell on Tuesday, Agilent. So about $5 is what they're expected on this. It's not one I trade too often, so personally probably going to leave it alone. It is in a very solid bullish uptrend though, and last quarter was decent, so Might be one you want to take a look at if it's a name you have more experience with. Wednesday before the open, analog devices. So about 5.5 points is what's expected on this. One of two big semi reports this week. So it's this and Nvidia, which is a day later. Merger with Maxim, probably going to be in focus this quarter, but ADI actually did have a solid print last time. So I feel like there's a couple tailwinds. So it's like good earnings last quarter. Also, maybe get some positive commentary around the Maxim deal. I don't know if ADI is going to be a huge mover because of that merger, though. But I do think like this and Maxim both look set up for higher prices, so I'll definitely be keeping an eye on them. Lows. So about 9 points is what's expected on this. Home Depot reports first, and that will almost certainly impact lows. So this is going to be kind of more wait and see approach, right? So if it has a huge move, then I may avoid it. But if not, maybe look at something low debit because historically Lowe's has been a bigger mover than Home Depot. So if it doesn't react to Home Depot, then maybe I'll look at Lowe's. Target. So another big retail report. About 8 points is what's expected on this. Typically more of like a boom bust mover than Walmart, right? And the stock has just been on a tear recently. So I do think Walmart's numbers will impact this. So I kind of need to see where it is at the time. But it could actually also be a mover regardless on its own. Just again because it's more like boom and bust. I guess the bigger issue with Target is just gauging how high expectations are and whether the high option pricing really leaves any room. TJX, so another bigger retail report Wednesday morning. About 3.5 points is what's expected on this. This is the first off-price retail report, so it's going to be interesting. It's not typically a huge mover on earnings, but what's interesting about this is that it usually sets up trades on either Ross Stores or Burlington because they're kind of closely correlated. And what's good about next week is that TJX and Ross Stores both report and Burlington doesn't, so it could set up a sympathy trade on Burlington because the options, relatively speaking, should be lower priced. All right, after the close on Thursday, oh no, after the close on Wednesday, excuse me, is Nvidia. So about 34 points is what is priced in here. This has just been in a steady bullish trend for months, and it's right at its 52-week high. I do think the numbers should be solid, but this pricing, they're just pricing in a huge move, and it barely did anything on earnings last quarter. So to me, it's very difficult to justify laying out the money for options here, personally. Maybe if the stock pulls back or if option pricing drops materially, I'll take a look, but to me, I feel like it's a very tough setup where it currently stands. Before the open on Thursday, Baba. So 15.5 points is what's priced in here. Huge name next week. We've been riding this one for a while now as a swing trade, and I do like the fact that it's formed this higher base above 250. I just really don't know what to expect earnings-wise because it doesn't have a great history of being rewarded when it reports, and a lot of the Chinese tech names haven't been particularly great this quarter from a reaction point of view. So, I'm on the fence. I do think the numbers should be solid, and I do think the setup overall looks pretty good. I would probably lean more bullish on it, but I can't figure out whether I want to put on a trade specifically for earnings or just continue to focus on like the swing trade aspect of it. So that's really where the main question comes on my end. Estee Lauder, so about 11 points or so is what's expected here. Makeup sales have been down since the pandemic started, but Estee Lauder is actually not too far from its 52-week high. Had a pretty big run ahead of earnings too, so I'm definitely a little bit more cautious on this for that reason. It may actually be one to look at for something on the bear side, as a matter of fact. All right, Thursday before the open, Keysight. So 6.5 points is what's priced in here. 5G play occasionally you get a big move on earnings. Last quarter it was kind of rough. So this is kind of a more of a wild card play. If they can bounce back with a good print, stock could have a pretty big pent-up breakout, right? You can see it's been kind of chopping around. Um, it's definitely more risky, but it also seems like potentially more explosive. So maybe something more speculative on this one. Raw stores. So 6 points is what's priced in here. TJX, like I said, ports first, and this should react to the TJX numbers. I don't typically play this one, and I think like the way I'm going to approach this group next week is with Burlington options. So that'll probably be my focus. All right, for the open on Friday, Deere. So 6 points is what's expected on this. Big industrial report last quarter was actually pretty solid, and the stock has continued to act well. Now it excuse me, not 6 points. It's pricing in 11 points. Sorry, not 6. And it is well above yearly resistance after the run it's been on. I'm not sure I'll do anything with it, but that breakout through multi-year resistance is interesting to me. And basically, if earnings kind of confirm like the strong move and it can hold above the top of like 180, 185 resistance, it could be one I look at as swing trade once the option pricing comes down. Foot Locker. So 3 points is what they're looking for here. They just released guidance earlier this week though, and the stock popped a bit. My rule is to avoid companies that guide early because it removes some of the volatility on the actual earnings report, so I'm probably going to leave this one alone. And then last but not least, so rounding out the China e-commerce names next week is PDD. 11.5 points is what's priced in here. This is another one that's had just an amazing run since April. Base stock basically went up 200% since the beginning of April. I do think the numbers should be solid and it may move, but expectations are also very, very high. And based off what it's pricing in, I just don't know how much room there is. Plus, it comes after JD and after Baba, so it may move a lot off of those two. So this is definitely kind of like a wait and see for me. All right. So again, I mean, on a day-to-day basis, you don't have like 50, 60, 70 names reporting, but you do have some really big names almost every single day. So still should be a busy week, interesting week, some potentially big movers too. So I think there's a lot to look forward to. So if you like this video and you're looking for more information on earnings trading or option swing trades, please follow up with the link in the description of the video for more information on options to play. Hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Stay well, and I will talk to you on Monday.